Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tabi pun. Hello, my name is Metri Safitri. I'm a student in Dian Cipta Cendikia Institute of Technology, Business and Language. And now I want to present my research or final task. And a title is Analysis on Students Speaking Skill at Tourism Department SMKN for Bandar Lampung. Chapter 1 Introduction. A. Background of the study. Speaking is a skill that is very much needed because humans as social beings need it. Good speaking skills are the main key to establishing communication because it can avoid bad possibilities that would occur, such as misunderstanding about the intention and goals convenient. Qualified speaking skill can also hone public speaking skills so that we can speak to many people and the general public without feeling doubtful and embarrassed. In Indonesia, English speaking ability is still a challenge for most students, especially for students who don't have access to adequate education as well as their low motivation to learn. Then the writer decided to conduct research on school students, especially in vocational tourist department. And then the writer, for to background, the writer they are student of English department. In Indonesia, English speaking ability is still a challenge for most students, especially for students who don't have access to adequate education as well as their low motivation to learn. Then, the writer decided to conduct research on school students, especially in vocational tourism, related to the background of the writer. There are students of tourism department who want to know more about the English language skills of students majoring in tourism at SMKN for Bandar Lampung, especially class 10 ULP1 Bandar Lampung. In addition, based on the preliminary observation in class 10 ULP1, was noted that students were less active in speaking English due to their limited vocabulary mastery and lack of understanding of certain English words into Indonesian to facilitate their comprehension. Based on the explanation about the speaking skills experienced by class 10 ULP1 senior high school students or SMKN for Bandar Lampung student, it is significant to do the research about English speaking skill, and the writer is interested in conducting a study entitled Analysis on Students Speaking Skill at Tourism Department SMKN for Bandar Lampung. B. Identification of the study. Based on description of the background above, identification of the study is how is the English speaking skills of students in 10 ULP1 at SMKN for Bandar Lampung. C. Objective of the study. The objective of the study is to know the English speaking skills of students 10 ULP1 at SMKN for Bandar Lampung. D. Scope of the study. This study has limitation and the subject of the study refers to the main topic, area of investigation or the phenomenon being studied. And then the subject of this study is the English speaking skills. The object of this study is the 10th grade or 10 ULP1 student of the tourism department at SMKN for Bandar Lampung, which consists of 34 students. And for the implementation is for 3 months from February to May 2033. A. Benefit of study. The results of this study are expected to provide benefits to several parts. There are 2 benefits of the study. First, theoretically, the results of this study are expected to provide benefits to science knowledge and educational development, especially those related to as well as enriching the result of previous research that have been done before and become input for further research. And two, practically. A, for the school. This study is expected to be a source of evaluation by the school in improving the quality of learning according to needs of students and the applicable curriculum. B, for the teachers. The result of the study will provide input to the teachers to be able to pay attention to learning model, learning system, and assessment. C, for the students. The study is expected to provide input students motivation and way of thinking to improve their English skills. D, for the researchers. The writer hopes this study will provide new knowledge and insight to researchers relate to the importance of English, factors that affect students' English language skills, and how to overcome low English speaking skills. Chapter 2, Theoretical Review. A, Framework of Theories. 1. Concept of English. According to English language learning is the process of learning English as a second of foreign language. According to Brown in 2007, English language learning involves four main skills, namely listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Concept of speaking skill. 2.1 Definition of speaking skills. Skills, according to Nadler and Husna, is an activity that requires practice or can be interpreted as the concreteness of the activity. 2.2 Purpose of speaking skills. And then there are several purposes for humans to speak, including A. Expressing truth, feeling, imagination, ideas, and ideas opinion. B. Responding to the meaning of speech from other people. C. Want to entertain others. D. Submit information. E. Persuading or influencing others. And then 2.3 Components of speaking skill. Components are parts of a whole or elements that make up a system or unity. They are interconnected so that it can run. According Harris, divides speaking skill into 5 components, such as the first is pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Based on the explanation above, the writer decided to use the theory from Harris to analyze this study. To be able speaking well requires the 5 components, yes, such as pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. And then is 2.4 Factors of supporting the effectiveness of speaking skill. Speaking skills is the process of conveying a message or purpose to someone. And here's an explanation regarding factors supporting the effectiveness of speaking skills according to Sujina in 2017. Such as there are 2 factors. First is linguistic factors, which cover several aspects such as accuracy of speech, placement of appropriate stress, pitch, password, and duration, choice of word or diction, and accuracy of the target of the conversation. And the second is non-linguistic factors, which including several aspects such as reasonable, calm, and non-rigid, the view that must be directed to the interlocutor, willingness to perspective the opinions of others. The last factor is 2.5 Factors affecting English speaking skill. There are 2 factors that affect a person's English speaking ability. It's according Brown classified into such as internal factors and external factors. There are internal factors, individual that affect English speaking ability. Internal factors include motivation, cognitive ability, and individual personality. And then is external factors. External factors are factors that come from the environment around the individual that affect English speaking ability. External factors is including the internal factors is including the family environment, social environment, and school environment. And then conceptual framework. Conceptual framework is an analytical technique used to gain a comparative understanding of phenomena. It can be applied in a variety of fields. And you can look at these pictures. There is diagram about the research. First, this is the first diagram is about the title about this research is analysis on student speaking skill at tourism department SMKN 4 Bantar Lampung. After that, this research is analyzed with some indicators according Harris. Indicators of the components of English speaking skills. There are several components such as the pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. With this indicator of English speaking skill, the writer can analyze and research the English speaking skill of the students in class 10 ULP1 SMKN 4 Bantar Lampung. Next is previous relate study. Previously, the similar study was carried out. The result of previous research. The previous research study has three previous relate. First is the title is Analysis of Student Speaking Skill Class 4 SDN 1 Sri Pendowo Ketapang South Lampung in Learning Thematic. This research is written by Anis Rosidatul Husna in 2020 University of Islamic Sarif Hidayatullah Jakarta. This research is used by the writer as a previous research because it can support this research. The purpose to be achieved in this study is to answer the result of the analysis and describe the speaking skills of 4th grade students of SDN 1 Sri Pendowo Ketapang South Lampung in thematic learning. And then this research has advantage of not only examining the factors that support speaking skills, but also discussing the factors that hinder speaking skill. This research has provided insight to the writer. Therefore, this previous research is very helpful in guiding the writer to compile this research. The second previous relate in the study is the title, The Effect of Learning Approaches and Verbal Ability on the Ability to Speak English Students of Stage 14 and 21 Medan High School. This journal is written by Naiklean Simbolon in 2014 University of Medan, Journal Cakrawala Pendidikan Journal. And this study aims to determine the effect of learning approach and verbal ability on speaking skill ability in high school. This research has the advantage that the explanation of the result and conclusion is explained in detail and clearly so that it can be easily understood. The third research is about English speaking ability of students, hospitality accommodation, a phonological study. This journal was written by Iwayan Agus Anggayana et al. In 2017 Journal of Community Hotel Service Management of the Indonesian Academy of Hospitality Management. Previous research aims to find out how the English pronunciation of students majoring in hospitality accommodation at the Indonesian Academy of Hospitality Management Community. Next is chapter 3 about research methodology. Method of the study. The writer used qualitative research. Qualitative research In collecting data occurs interaction between data researchers and data source. B. Time and place of the study. The study was conducted in February until May 2023 within 3 months, which was held at SMKN4 Bandar Lampung. It's located in 102 Hos Cokro Aminoto Street, Enggal, Bandar Lampung. This research has activity in timeline of the research, and then the first in February 6, 2023, doing preliminary observation at SMKN4 Bandar Lampung, and February 14th in 2023 asking for permission to the principal of the SMKN4 Bandar Lampung to conduct the research, and February 33 in 2023 doing collaboration with the English teachers at SMKN4 Bandar Lampung to discuss at SMKN4 Bandar Lampung discuss about the research interview that has been made by the writer, and then on March 6, 10 until 16 2023 doing observation, on March 21 2023 doing interview, and then on April 10 2023 completing data documentation. Next is data source of the study. In this study, a writer used to source data. There are as follow. First is the primary data source. The primary data source is the main data which is used in this study. The data is direct reinforced by the writer of the source being the primary data source in this study is interview. The writer used in-depth interview in the study. In-depth interview is common in qualitative research, and such as studies are subject to security by ethnic committees, and in-depth interview are usually semi-structured or unstructured. In this study, the writer has selected 2 students, 1 male student and 1 female student, based on the gender from 34 students as informant using purposive sampling. And then the secondary data source. The secondary data is data from existing source and from this research obtained from observation and documentation. According to Sugiono, the researcher is involved in the daily activity of the individual being observed or used as research data. And in this study, used in participant observation, the writer actively participates in this observed situation, and students become part of the group or environment being observed, allowing for a deeper understanding of the phenomenon under study. And then documentation is a method of collecting some evidence from observation at the research location. In this study, it is presented in the form of pictures, photos, and written records of research findings. And then procedure of the study. The procedure of the study that used by writer as follows. The first is the writer found the study problem. Then the writer found the objective of the study. And the third, the writer found the framework of the theory. Next, the writer chose the data collection. And then the fifth, the writer did interviewed students majoring in tourism, SMKN4 Bandar Lampung. The writer made the participant observation in order to see how the students' English speaking skill. And then the writer collected the data, and the writer analyzed the data spiritually, and then the writer made conclusion, and the last is writer gave suggestions. And then data collection. The data will be collected by having interview, observation and documentation. The first is interview. Interview is data collecting technique if the writer want to do preliminary study to find problems that must examine, and also the writer wants to know things from respondent in more depth, and the number of the respondent is a little. In the qualitative study, the more in-depth, truth, and explored the data obtained, the better the quality of the study. So, in the term of the number of respondent or study object, qualitative research method have fewer objects compared to quantitative study. The interview process, the first step is call one respondent, make an introduction, and the next step is the step of conducting question and answer. After that, from the result of the questions and answer process, the interviewer writes all the transcript of the interview. After that, all the information is obtained. The interviewer summarizes the content of the interview. Next is observation. According Mardawani, there are 3 stages in making observation. The first is descriptive stage. The writer conducts a general and thorough exploration of everything seen, heard, and felt while in the class. The second stage is focused observation, and at this stage, the writer simplifies the result obtained during the descriptive stage in the class. In the last stage, or the third stage, is selected observation. At this stage, the writer elaborates on the focus found on aspect of English speaking skills. At this stage, the writer finds things that affect the English speaking skills of students in class 10 ULP1 and finds the relationship between student English speaking skill and the factor that influence them. And then documentation. The documentation method is a way of collecting data that produces important records related to the problem being studied, so that complete, valid, and noted-based data can be obtained. This method is done by collecting data in the form of books, journal, and websites or pictures of SMKN for Bandar Lampung. Next is data analysis. In the study, data is analyzed with several steps. First is data is obtained through interviews with source directly in the field, then collecting data from interviews and documentation, and reducing the data that has been obtained by the writer. Then the data is presented and conclusion is drawn. And the next chapter is chapter 4 about result and discussion. The result of the interview state that there was an influence of English speaking skill component on student English speaking skills such as pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. And there are also internal and external factors are influenced. Next is observation. Based on the result of observation in class 10 ULP1, by observing and practicing directly communicating with students, data on students speaking mistake were obtained using the observation of the 5 components English speaking skill. The vocabulary component is the component that has the most mistake in the student speaking process, because students ask a lot of questions about choosing the right words when responding the question from the writer. Next is the component comprehension component, grammar, then pronunciation, and the last is fluency. And then documentation. In this study, the writer collects documentation during the research process, which is used as supporting that. The last chapter is chapter 5 about conclusions and suggestion. Conclusion in this study conclude in students of 10 ULP1 SMKN for Bandar Lampung regarding their English speaking skills. And in this study, there are several important conclusions. There are two conclusions. The first is the English speaking ability of students in class 10 ULP1 SMKN 4 Bandar Lampung can be said to be lacking from the results of interviews, observation, and documentation, which are evaluated not only based on grades but also on their competencies and skills. Important components in speaking ability including vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, fluency, and comprehension. The component that has the biggest influence is students lack vocabulary. So vocabulary is the main component that is highlighted to be improved. And the second conclusion is other factors that affect students' English speaking ability are also influenced by some internal and external factors. The internal factors is their motivation towards the importance of English in life, as well as students' confidence is also an important factors in practicing English. External factors that affect student English speaking ability is the school environment in terms of participating in extracurricular activities or self-development activities such as English club play an important role in improving students' English speaking skills. Then is suggestion. In the study, there are 5 suggestions. The first is for the school. A. Provide greater attention to the development of students' English speaking skills, and then encourage student participation in extracurricular activities related to English, such as English club, to enhance their speaking abilities. And the last, provide adequate resources and facilities to support English speaking learning, including learning materials, audiovisual devices, and access to digital media. And the second is for the teachers. A. Utilize varied and interactive approaches in teaching English speaking skill, including communicative activities and language games. Next is provide constructive feedback to students to help them improve their vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, fluency, and comprehension. And then encourage activity or active student participation in class discussion and provide opportunities for each student to speak. And then improving student vocabulary components in the English learning process. And then the third is for the students. A. Engage motivation and awareness regarding the importance of English in their own lives. And then engage in extracurricular activities related to English, such as the English club, to improve their speaking abilities and gain more opportunities for the practice. And the last suggestion is for Dian Cipta Cendikia Institute of Technology, Business, and Language ITBA DCC. The first is over training programs or additional courses focused on developing English speaking skills for prospective students. And then B. Organize activities, forums, or seminars in English as part of research and faculty engagement to provide opportunities for students to actively practice speaking English by collaborating with schools in need of English language skills environment. Okay, thank you so much. This is my research for a final class, and it's about analysis on student speaking skill at Tourism Department SMKN 4 Bandar Lampung. Thank you so much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.